Welcome to Authentically Nisi on YouTube and Authentically Me with Coffee or Tea podcast. And we are continuing this month with All About That in Life. Now, this is our last insert in this season, in this series. And so I wanted to bring on somebody who would really talk about what's going on in ministry and how God has used her in her ministries, particularly in business. So how many of us think of what we do as a vocation? Is it really a ministry? What would your life look like if you thought about what you do in business, your entrepreneurial exploits, your job, if you thought about that as your ministry? I know that my guest today has often wondered why she was in her line of business and her ministry many days, especially when building her ministry was super tough. But as you listen to her story, though it may not be like yours exactly, the takeaways and principles that this woman has learned in her journey can be applied to you in your life in some form or fashion. This lady's name is Ruth Buckmeyer, and she is the owner of his daycare in the upstate of South Carolina in the city of Fountain Inn. So welcome, Ruth. Thank you so much for being here on this podcast and video cast with us. And so as we begin to talk about your journey, can you first tell us a little bit more about who are you? Who is Ruth?
Well, first, I'd like to say thank you, Denise, for inviting me. I really appreciate being here. And just being able to share my story. I'm Ruth Buckmeyer, as Ms. Denise mentioned. I am a woman who has I have 4 grown children, 13 grands, and no great grands as of yet. Sure they'll be coming though. And what I do, I am an owner and operator of his daycare, which started September 30th, 2002. So it's been some 20 years ago since this business ministry started.
Wow.
It's been quite a journey. And I've learned to love where I am. I've learned to love it. So that's basically who I am.
Awesome.
And in that respect.
Awesome. So you're the mom of 4 adult children who I'm pretty sure mean the world to you. And you said 13 grandchildren?
13.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes.
I only have 3.
Okay.
And that's a lot right there by itself for me. So God bless you in that ministry, because being a grandma and a mama is a ministry all by itself, right?
That it is.
So let's talk about what you do and when you began. I know you said back in 2002. So it's been 20 years. Coming up this year will be 20 years for you, right?
Yes.
So tell us what it is that you do in his daycare.
Okay, before I start with what I do, let me go back a little bit. I started his daycare out of my home. And that started because my teenage daughter got pregnant. What a surprise. So here I am, come home from work and working a pretty decent job at that time. And given this big news about her being pregnant, that was not a happy day for me. But it has turned into a happy time for me. So my grandson was born and we went to look for childcare, of course, working, I have to find childcare. We looked and we searched throughout our local area. And for me, it was okay, but it wasn't adequate. And I'm gonna say why, because my daughter was a teenager. And she would have to be the one to pick up the baby, deal with the adults and all of that. And I felt in my heart that they would not treat her fairly and they wouldn't respect her as a mama because she's a teenager. So here I am with this dilemma. Okay, what am I going to do? What do we do? I'm not a person that could work at night, never have been. So I knew that wasn't going to be the answer so that I could stay home. So I'm sitting and I've always been in my adult life, been a woman of prayer. So I'm sitting and I'm praying and I said, God, what do we do? What do we do? And I hear, start your own.
Wow.
What? Start my own? I have 4 kids, single mama myself. And how do I do that? So I went to get some advice from people in my church. And of course, they debunked it. Like, how are you going to do that? You can't do that. And I was scared, but guess what? I did it. I did it. And I did it with a lot of tears. I'm not going to tell you this was superwoman. I didn't launch right in there. There was nothing like that. It was far from that. But I want to say God is faithful. And I walked through that period of starting it. And when I say God is faithful, he brought people in that I don't know how they found me, but they did. And I started working out of my home. And it became a business. And I named it his daycare because he told me to start it.
Wow.
God said start it. And I didn't have a name. So I was like, okay, this is yours. So his daycare.
Wow.
So that's how that started. What I do now is I own and operate a center. So I'm out of the home. And I've been running my center for about 5 years now in Fountain Inn, which has been a challenge and a miracle. So that's what I do. I manage employees. I do have employees. I have vendors that I deal with. And more importantly, I have these parents that are very dear to me and those children. They mean a lot to me. So what I do is I'm not just a director, owner, operator. I feel like I am a mentor. I feel like I bring value to these families and what we do. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So I know that you now believe that this was something that you were called to because you said that God told you to do this. And you said that it was difficult starting it and difficult of starting your center. So every step of the way, you've met with some challenges. But how can somebody tell if they are called into something outside of the normal job arena, coming out of corporate into something that's entrepreneurial? How can somebody tell if they are called to that?
That's a good question. You have to have a passion for what you believe you're called to do. And that passion has to take you past the giddy feeling of, oh, I'm out there on my own. That passion has to take you through those rough times. That passion will challenge you even when you want to quit. That passion won't let you quit. And that's a beginning step to know that you are an entrepreneur, because you're solving someone's problem.
Right.
That problem was being solved. The problem that I started solving was my own. I had a problem and I didn't have an answer. And so God gave me an answer. So I became that entrepreneur. An entrepreneur by definition is a risk taker. I believe that I take lots of risks, and I took lots of risks running a daycare from my home with 4 little kids. Now, I want to be honest with you. I did not have any other income. I lost all of the income that I was making. I was working at a major transportation company, and I was in a executive position. So I walked away from that, believing that God said to do it. Very fearful, but very prayerful. That's all I could do was pray. And guess what? Every step of the way, even through the fear, even through the tears, even through all of the disbelief, doubting, he was right there. So for me, my entrepreneur journey was, even when I wanted to quit, I couldn't.
Right. So what I'm hearing from you is huge, right? You took not even a step of faith, but a huge leap of faith to go from a very comfortable corporate position into the unknown of building your own business. And in doing so, it's so, I thank you for being so real about it, because it's so important for beginning entrepreneurs to understand that this risk taking that you're doing, this going into a business on your own or out there where, and solving a need, because that's very important. You have to have a need, that somebody has a need that you are here to solve. For you to do that, it had to take faith. It has to take something coming from the creator, right? Because
Right.
he created us. He knows the needs in the world, right? And so each
Absolutely.
one of us are a need solver in our
Hmm.
own right, because we are co-creators with God in Christ. And so
Yes.
you just stepped out to fulfill the need that God saw in the earth, right? And you had enough faith in him and trust in him to know that, okay, God, if you're saying for me to do this, then I must procreate with you and go forth and do this thing. But your realness in saying that it wasn't easy and that you stepped out afraid is a lot of things that new business, I'm gonna call us kingdompreneurs. New kingdompreneurs have to understand that you're not gonna always find that it's just the greatest thing to do. You're often gonna understand that this thing is scary because you're going into uncharted territories, right?
Yeah.
But
Yes.
but faith is the substance of things that you hope for, and it is actually the evidence of what you don't see. So you
Yes.
stepping out in faith was your evidence that even though you didn't see it, it was true. It was to be done, right?
Yes. Yeah,
So I'm
absolutely.
I'm just so excited that you're sharing this, because I think that sometimes we have this glamorous ideal that starting your own business, because of all of the influencers and all the media shockers and movers and shakers in the media world, seem to have done it with ease, but it's not easy stepping out, and especially when you don't have help and you're starting from scratch, it seems, right? And there's nobody that you know knows what you're trying to do, right? And then, of course, the resources. Let's talk about resources,
Yes.
right? Let's share with us how, even starting a business in your home, how you needed resources and how you felt like the resources came about for you.
Starting out in my home was it was scarce. It was very scarce.
Mm-hmm.
I I did not have a lot of anything.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I still had to have a roof over my head, lights and food and all of that. The reality here is this. Um, there's never going to be, it's not going to be easy starting. And even
Mm-hmm.
if you have resources, there's those challenges out there will knock you back 10 paces. And I'm going to tell you why. You can have the resources, but you can, that those resources can go so fast before you know it, they're gone. And then you have to gain and build some more, get more resources. How I went through that with knowing God is faithful. And
Mm-hmm.
even before I started a business, God showed me his faithfulness with my children, because I was divorced and I was without income and all of that. I started out with we were a military family, and I'm going to just tell you like it is. We were a military family, and I didn't do anything. I was that little wife sitting there, and he brought the money in and all of that. And so I didn't have to do much of anything. I even homeschooled my children. That's how comfortable I had it. So, but when the marriage broke up, right, there was no comfort and there was no
Right.
more resources, right?
Right.
So here I am, um, getting through that process. But God brought me through every step of the way. Even when that dissolved, I was still able to have my needs met.
Right.
And not only my needs, sometimes my wants was met. And maybe this may be small to someone else, but to even have cable, right?
Right.
Cable
Right.
TV was
Right.
huge because I had little kids. And typically, I'm going to say a Black woman with 4 kids and an income bracket that I had found myself in,
Mm-hmm.
that was big. And I would tell God, I said, you know what? You are my champion, because you even
Right.
let me have cable,
Right. Right.
outside of just with food and shelter and even transportation. That
Right.
was just a added bonus for us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the scariest, the lack, let me just put that, the lack that I had, God supplied every step of the way.
Mm-hmm.
These new entrepreneurs that are starting out, they're seeing a lot of glamour,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to tell you, there's less glamour and more work. You're going to dig ditches before you see trees come up.
I like that. I
You
like
are.
that you're gonna
You,
dig ditches before you see the trees. That's
yes,
awesome. That
yes.
is awesome. That is awesome. So what is that? Do you feel like that glamour, is that a myth that you feel that a lot of new business owners kind of fall into the trap, or they try to go into this thinking, oh, well, so-and-so did it this way, so I can just go this route and do it this way as well. How do you address that when they fall into that trap of thinking, oh, well, this person went this way, I can probably do it that way? You of course had to do it a little bit differently, a lot differently than even your counterparts, even your peers that's in the business. Yes. So kind of share about the specifics on how God was guiding you for your daycare and not to follow anyone else's guideline or strategic plan.
Okay. So for my daycare, as I mentioned before, I started out in the home. And then it grew from one city, from Columbia, South Carolina. I was uprooted by God to Greenville, South Carolina. And so I followed, it's a map. It's an internal map. Mm-hmm. There's no written steps to this when you follow God. You have to have that relationship and you have to listen and you have to do it. Not just listen, you have to do it, because that doing it every step of the way is going to bring you closer and closer to the purpose that he's put inside of you. I was made to do this. I was born to do what I'm doing. Absolutely. Although I didn't know that and I didn't want to do it. I would tell my family when I was younger, I'm going to have a loft in New York City, no children, and just going to live my life, right? Far from what I was made to do. I have all these kids and grandkids and now other people's children. And but I am living my life, but I'm living it a different way. Right. So every step of the way is a faith walk. We like to read in the Bible about all these different great people of faith. We are great people of faith too when we follow God. Absolutely. We become one of those great people of faith. And you learn to appreciate the journey. You don't appreciate it at first, but I've learned to appreciate this journey that I'm on. I'm still on this journey. And I'm going to fast forward a little bit. Because I'll start talking and going off the subject, but I'm going to fast forward a little bit. After I came out of my home here in Greenville and I went into the center, lots of things started coming my way. For one thing, I was hit with breast cancer when I opened up the center, and taking chemo and radiation, opening up a center. I didn't have any help from other directors or other center owners, because this field is one of the businesses that people seem to not want to help each other. And I don't understand that, because there's so many babies being born today. You'll never lose inventory, if you want to say it like that. You'll never be out of work. You're always at work. But I found that there was not a lot of help. And that is important, to have a network or a sisterhood around you. And I didn't have that. So where I am now, coming through all of that at that moment, I've learned that, again, God is very faithful, and he's given me everything I need to even now be in process of expanding.
Right. So let's talk about that, because you've been from a home-based business in one location to another location. God moved you from your home location into an actual center. And now he's about to do something in the center that you didn't necessarily expect him to do. I mean, we've had this conversation before. So tell our listeners and our viewers what God is doing at your center now.
Well, currently, I have changed the dynamic of the center. So we're no longer a daycare. We are now going into a school. Wow. And I have a pre-K program through the state of South Carolina that I'm partnering with. And so that's awesome. That's awesome in itself. So I have that. But once I move my pre-K out into the new building that we are going to have by summer, I'm going to start a class for exceptional need children. Wow. So that is the expansion. That is the newest thing on the horizon. And I'll tell you what, I wasn't going to do that. I was absolutely not going to even try to do it. And I knew that I should be doing it. But lots of series of events will cause you to do what God will. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about the God I serve. If he wants something done and he's put that in you to get it done, you're going to do it.
Mhm.
No matter how you kick and scream, or no matter how you even doubt yourself, you're going to do it. Because why? Because you love him, and
Right.
you're going to follow because he knows what's best. So here
Right.
I am now about to open up a classroom for special need children, which
Mhm.
is amazing, because those children are the children that are pushed to the side most all the time. They
Mhm.
go into mainstream school systems, and because of the shortage of teachers, not enough resources, those children sit in classrooms and they are ignored
Mm.
or bullied.
Mhm.
And a lot of those kids, people don't know, they take their lives because
Mm.
of the severity of loneliness that they go through.
Mm.
So here God is. I hear him saying, I'm going to be the hub in the
Mm.
upstate. So I'm
Wow.
going to start that place where children will come and families will know that their children will be loved, nurtured, and no judgment. No
Right.
judgment.
Right.
So
What a
that's the
safe
expansion.
space. What a
Mhm.
safe space for children with exceptionality. And it's beautiful because God loves all of us, right?
All
And
of
there it
us.
is, another need that he
Yeah.
needed to be filled. And here you are, willing, but not sure, but willing to fill the need. But because with him, all things are possible, right? All
Yeah.
things are possible with him because we believe him, right? And so you said that you didn't always want to be a teacher, but do you feel like you've always taught children? Because you said you taught your own, you already homeschooled your own children. You had that blessed opportunity to do so, because not many mothers have that opportunity to be able to stay at home and homeschool their children. So did you not see this as a forewarning, kind of sort of, that God was sending you that route when you
No,
decided to homeschool your children?
no, I
No.
didn't.
So you
No,
felt taken aback when he said, well, you do it, right?
I didn't see that. And the only reason I homeschooled my kids was because one of my kids was being picked on. And I was
Oh.
like, okay, we're not having this. It's just gonna take you out, but it was my mom who encouraged me
Mhm.
to do it. She pushed me to
Mhm.
do things that I never thought I could do.
Mhm.
Even to this point where I wish she was here to see the school starting. We lost our mother almost 9 months ago, and I wish she could see what her push has done, and
Mhm.
where we're going because of her pushing me. But
Yeah.
no, I never wanted to be
Mhm.
teaching. I never wanted to do this. I didn't even see it, and I could tell I was blindsided. And I said, Lord, you have played a really horrible trick on me, because because here I am doing something that I never expected in my wildest dreams that I
Mhm.
would be doing with my life.
Yeah.
Eh, yeah.
So you spoke on a little while ago on lack of community, or lack of a network of sisterhood in your field. Um, I think that's in a lot of fields. I think that it's even in what God is calling me to do. There is a lower level of networking, or community, where we can bounce ideas off one another and just kind of share and help one another, unless there's a price tag placed on it.
Yes.
um and I know for sure that, although God called us to certain works, that and he makes the provision, that sometimes that lack of sisterhood can be disconcerting and a little bit discouraging. So
Absolutely.
do you feel like you've had a mentor at any point in your career in this ministry, and if you did, who was that person?
I do feel like I had a mentor, and it was one of my professors when I was in school. Her name was Kim Tolbert, and we have kept in touch even up until today.
Mhm.
And the blessed thing about me keeping in touch with her is that she owned a gym for special needs children.
Wow.
And she happened to call me just last week and say, "Hey, I'm closing. Come get some things."
Wow.
So for me, that was another, yes, this is what you're supposed to do, because I need
Mhm.
the equipment. I
Mhm.
had no equipment, but I'm
Right.
about to get the equipment I need for the exceptional classroom. So Kim Tolbert was, without any hesitation, without asking for any monetary anything. She didn't ask me anything. She just encouraged me every step of the way. We would not talk for months sometimes, but we would pick right back up like we never stopped talking.
Mhm.
Um, she is a lady of wisdom and
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
important.
Yes.
It's one thing to have a network but it's another thing to have a sister
Right.
that really is for you, got your back
Right.
professionally, have your
Right.
back. Yeah.
Right. Right. That is the thing that I see we have a need in, and a sisterhood of women in whatever genre or ministry that God has called you to not feel as though there's competition, or
Yes.
that we feel that we need to compare ourselves against ourselves, or that we need to feel like we have to judge one another based on what we think we do. We have to mask in front of one another. There has to be a place in time when we as women, mature women in the faith, mature women of God who love God more than anything, to be able to come together and say, sis, I got your back. No matter what you need, even if I can't get it, we're going to find out where you can get it from.
Yes, absolutely.
Sis, I'm praying for you. No matter what's going on in my day, if you need me, I'm going to stop what I'm doing and I'm going to say a prayer for you. Sis, I got you with resources. No matter, even I'm not in your genre, we'll find some resources together and I'm going to get them to you. That's very important. And I find that there is a huge need for that. Or we have our small cell groups that we kind of click with because we're similar or we're like-minded. But if we're in Christ, we're all like-minded. We're all supposed to be after that one thing, and that is to serve the Lord with gladness, right? And to serve and help and be helpers one to another, and to love one another like Christ loves us. So thank you for sharing that, because I really wanted to our viewers and our listeners to understand that if you are in a network where there is a community, that perhaps we need to self-examine to see what we are offering to our community, and to be able to pray about that thing and say, Lord, what can I offer my community? What need have you put in me for me to be the supply for? And then to go about being that blessing, be that person that supply that need to your sister in your network or in another network or anywhere that God puts you in that place. Because it's tough. It's tough when you don't have a community. It's tough when you feel like you're not included. And we talk about inclusiveness, but we don't talk about inclusiveness in the body of Christ. We talk about inclusiveness in the world system. But God is calling us to the kingdom, and to the kingdom of God, in his system. And he demands really and commands us to love and love each other well, and to be inclusive with one another. So thank you for that. I mean, I thought that was very important. What's one lesson your career or your ministry has taught you that everybody should learn at some point in their life? If you can find one lesson you've learned.
One lesson that I've learned in my career: never stop. Don't stop. No matter what, I've learned not to stop. And it all goes back to just this one thing, one principle, that God is faithful. And whatever he says, he will perform it. His word says so. His words go out and they don't come back void. And if he put it in you, it's going to happen. So what I learned is God is faithful, and don't stop no matter what. Because I had someone tell me the other day, they said, what if you don't do it and you turn 80 years old and you look back at 80 when you're 80 and you say, man, I wonder what would have happened if I had have done X, Y, Z. You would never know. And there would be lots of regrets. And so that's the lesson I've learned coming through where I am now in this vocation. Don't stop, no matter what. If he said it, don't worry about it. It's going to happen. I didn't say it was going to be easy. And for new people that are starting out business, please understand, just because you have some failures, that's okay. Those are just little setbacks. Those are little lessons. They're little seeds that are being planted to say, okay, I didn't do this well, or that didn't happen, but okay, now what? And he'll give you the next thing. So don't stop.
Absolutely. So, and just going back a little bit, when you said you're going to have to dig some ditches, right?
Yeah.
So in your digging of ditches, you're going to have seeds of failure, right?
Yes.
But plant them seeds anyway, water them with the word that God has given you, and you're going to find your tree coming up after a while.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, that's glorious. Praise Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that. So what kind of trait in your business, in the ministry of even dealing with children, exceptional children, smaller children, what type of personality trait does a person has to have in order to be of service to those children?
You have to have integrity.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have loyalty to the families.
Mm-hmm.
You have to really not be judgmental,
Mm-hmm.
because in this business, families that I have been involved with are oftentimes in a lower bracket of income.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can't look at them and see them as a throwaways, because family is family, no matter what money you make or don't make.
Mm-hmm.
Family is family. So for me, I learned there is no judgment.
Mm-hmm.
I've even had families that have come and they were same-sex marriages.
Mm-hmm.
There was no judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And I had families that would challenge me when they knew that. That's God loves everybody.
Everyone. Absolutely.
All of us.
Absolutely.
No matter what. And so for me, the biggest thing is no judgment. Have a sense of integrity, loyalty, and I'm real big on being honest.
Right.
Even if it hurts a little bit to be honest, you have to.
Right.
You have to.
So you touched my heart just now when you talked about the families. Family is everything, right? Family is everything. No matter if you're from a single parent, one parent family, two parent family, same sex parents, whatever your family dynamic is, family is everything. And in order for a family to come in and be able to trust that you will care for their children, there has to be a certain level of, I'm gonna call it je ne sais quoi, right? A certain something about you that's special enough for them to say, hey, I'm gonna trust you with my child or my children. Tell me a little bit about what his daycare shows the community that has that special something that parents can come in and automatically feel that they can trust you with their children.
I've had that I get that all the time. And I think it's because we're very small and it's a family quaint environment, and they can feel the genuine love that comes from my staff and from me. They can feel that we are really concerned about them and their child and their well-being. They can feel that, because I have parents still, before the pandemic, I had a full center. After the pandemic, it went down to just like everyone else, we lost a lot of children. But I have parents still calling me from prior pandemic time, wanting to come back. That's huge for me, because why would you want to come back, right? Except you know your child was being loved and taken care of.
Right.
And so for me, I think when people walk through our doors at his daycare, they can feel the difference.
Right.
We are a different center. We offer our hearts to those families. We do.
I love that. I love that. I kept hearing while you were talking, exceptional service for exceptional people.
Yeah.
I just heard that so clearly. And I think that's what all kingdompreneurs should offer, is exceptionality, like just being above and beyond, for those that they serve. Because like Jesus, he did that for us. He went above and beyond for us by sacrificing himself. And I know that some people listening and viewing may say, oh, I'm over this whole Jesus thing, but truly, 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 people, he is really, really the reason why we exist. The reason why we are able to be here and to be of service to other people and to build the businesses or the ministries that we have is all because of Christ. And if we can't get up and say that it's about Jesus and it's because of Jesus, then we are misrepresenting who we say we serve. And I refuse to do that. And so in any business, yours included, mine included, our ministries, whatever we are doing, it says, in whatever you do or say, and all that you do, you're eating and even you're drinking, do all for the glory of God, right? And so when you were talking about how much your love and how much of a difference you make when the parents come in, that is what it's all about. It's about making a difference. We can't be cookie cutter because that's the world system. We have to be the ones that show the difference. We have to be the ones that make the exception for those who are exceptional, because Jesus did that, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Oh, I'm getting just overwhelmed right now. What do you think is your favorite time of day when you're in your business? What's your favorite part of the day and why?
Um, my favorite part of the day is lunchtime,
Okay.
noon, when the kids are being fed. It's nice to walk through. I make the meals. They're home cooked meals. It's nice to walk through and watch them eat.
Kudos to you. You're cooking and everything. Kudos to you.
It's good to see them eat and eat well, fresh fruits and vegetables, just really good food. And to hear them say, Miss Ruth, I love this. Miss Ruth, this is so good. I love that, to hear that. It's hard work. The whole aspect of what I'm doing, it's tough. And sometimes I'm murmuring, honestly, complaining, honestly, but that part of the day makes it worth it. Just to hear those kids say, Miss Ruth, I love this. And when one of them are missing, I worry that if they're not eating, I worry about that. Or did they eat breakfast? Did they have lunch?
Yes.
And, I worry.
Right.
So to see them, that's my favorite part. Them having lunch. Yeah.
That's awesome. I think my favorite part of the day is lunchtime too, so I can eat. Okay. But anyway, if you could start a ministry or your business, a business tomorrow, would it be what you're doing now? Or would it be something different, and why?
It would be an addition to what I'm doing now. I think we ought to serve the whole child. So that's mind, body, and soul, right? And spirit. I would have, and I will have a place where parents and children can hear about the love of God. I will have a room named after my mom and my grandma for parents to have counseling. They can come in and seek counseling and prayer. This is the extension of what I'm starting now. I will have a gym where the children that have sensory issues can come in and feel safe enough to climb or to step or to touch even some object. Those are the things that I will have. That's what I'm going to start. Maybe not tomorrow, but it's going to start.
That's awesome. Good for you. And even though it hasn't began yet, just you speaking it out, it's confirmation that that God has called you to it and that he's going to bring you all the way to the fruition of it. Yeah. So even though you got to dig some ditches in this area too, and maybe plant some seeds, still keep watering it with that word, and we're going to see some great and mighty things coming up out of his daycare. Are you even planning on changing that because you're transitioning to a school, or are you going to just extend that name out into something else?
Well, I've been tossing that around a little bit. I love the name, his daycare, but I think his daycare is evolving into an academy. So it will be his daycare academy. And the reason I will keep his daycare is because that's the foundation. It started with that name. And I don't feel like that would do any justice to take that name, that foundational name away. I'll add to that name, his daycare academy, and the little extensions will come off of that.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Good for you, Ruth. Good for you. As we're ending this awesome conversation, is there anything that you would like our viewers or listeners to know when it comes down to stepping out into kingdompreneurship, stepping out into maybe just the first steps of planning what God has planted in you to do, or stepping out into even just launching out into the deep of what God has told you to do? Is there any last words or anything you want to just share to maybe give them that final push or confirmation that, I can do this?
Yeah. For me, I would say this. I would say that you use wisdom, research your craft. It's nice and all fine and well to want to do something to solve a problem, to solve a need, but research that craft, research what you believe God's called you to do. I did not have that opportunity to research. I was launched into it. I would not recommend that. What I recommend going forward is to research, network, those are the main two things I would say: research and network, and more importantly, have faith in God.
Mhm, mhm.
Have faith. If he said it, he's going to do it. But research.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. I was, while you were saying that, I was thinking about a business coach that I follow who also utilizes godly principles. And she said, you know, when we're out trying to make a name for ourselves, we have to always understand that we are our name and we are what we do. And so if it's coming from you, then it needs to be you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Where if it's coming from you, it needs to be you. And that if it's coming from you and it is you, then it all will work out for good. But if you coming out the gate in somebody else's shoes, you often gonna fall.
Right.
So come out the gate in your shoes, have faith, like you said, and do your research.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
this has been wonderful. I'm going to take that dig them ditches away with me. That's my takeaway. Digging ditches, planting them seeds, watering it with the word, and you'll see the trees. I'm going to take that with me.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much, Ruth. You have been an amazing, amazing, amazing conversation today. I really appreciate you. If you all don't know where Ruth is, again, she is Ruth Buckmeyer, and she is the owner and CEO of His Daycare / Coming Up to Academy in the great city of Fountain Inn, South Carolina. She has a website and she has a Facebook page. So you can find her on social media. If you have any questions, if you're in her area, schedule a time to go in and visit her. I'm pretty sure she'll welcome any families in to visit her. She has great things in store for Fountain Inn. So Fountain Inn, get ready because His Daycare Academy is coming. Okay. So thank you so much again, Ruth, for your time. It was such a pleasure to speak with you today. May the Lord bless you in your endeavors. May he keep you and may he expand you. Just as Jabez has prayed, may he enlarge your territory 1,000-fold in Jesus' name. So thank you so much for your time today. It was certainly an honor and a privilege to speak with you. And if that's it, we are done, guys. So I will see you all next time on our next podcast and video cast. It's going to be Coffee and Conversations, where I'll be coming in with some interesting conversation about certain topics coming up. So you guys stay tuned. Love you guys and talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you.